G'day, I'm Rob.
And I'm Dave.
Welcome to another Doctor Who show hot take of Season 1 of Doctor Who. This week we're into the third episode, Dave, called Boom, written by Stephen Moffat. How are you?
I'm good, Rob. I'm good. Yes, this was written by Stephen Moffat. Now, I don't know if you know of him. I know him because he wrote a show that I like called Press Game.
Yes, very good show.
Showrunner of that. He's done a few other things. Now, you may not know his Doctor Who connection is that he wrote The Curse of Fatal Death in about 1990-something.
Yeah, a long time ago now.
Yeah, so he's got a Doctor Who connection. I think he's written some short trips or something like that. And several series of the show.
Yeah, he hung around in fandom a bit, would go to those tavern events in the UK. But,
yeah, he's definitely a name.
Yeah, he's all right.
Yeah.
Of course, we jest. This was Moffat's return to the series, Dave, after saying, I wouldn't go back to the series I've been showrunner on. That would be insane. And we said in our news segment, whether that was a year or two ago now on the show, he'll be back. And of course, he was back.
He was.
Dave, any thoughts on the series so far before we get into our thoughts on this episode? Because I guess a lot has happened in the past week since we put out our hot take almost straight away on the first couple of episodes. And then there's been a whole week of other people talking.
There has been a whole week of other people talking. And as we kind of expected, the last two episodes, particularly episode 1, although frankly both of them, have been quite... If you were generous, you'd say they've been a bit of a Marmite episode. If you were more realistic, you'd say divisive episodes.
Yeah.
A number of people have had the view that we had that, look, this is kind of a bit over the top and bonkers and maybe not really what we as long-term classic fans want or liked. Although we sort of accepted that this is, the RTD light and fluffy, just disposable opening, and we were waiting to see if the tide turned in episode 3, and we'll get to that in a moment. There were people out there who absolutely loved those episodes and just thought they were crazy and bonkers and exactly what they want, lots of camp fun. There were plenty of people who were definitely just going, look, I'm not saying I hate this show, but this isn't the style of Doctor Who that I like, and if this is going to be the series, it's not for me. And I was certainly in that camp as well, but, willing to give the show a third chance. The dialogue has been particularly awful, I think. I think there's been a lot of real mockery of people who just said, I didn't like the show. And you I know, made some points on that as well, Rob.
It feels all week I've been saying a variation of this time around for a series of Doctor Who, I'm seeing a very broad cross-section of fandom have a go at it. There's always these fringe types, these extremists, these fanatics, the kind of people who, when Ncuti Gatwa was announced as the Doctor 2 years ago, decided that they didn't like this season.
Yeah.
Before they'd even written a line, before they'd recorded a frame of film, they decided they hated it because they didn't like the look of Ncuti Gatwa. And of course, they'd always be careful to dance around the race issue and all of that. They'd never quite go that far, but they'd say how much they hated it once Ncuti Gatwa was announced. And those extremists, they've hated it from day one, and they hate it now, yes. But there's a bunch more people from all different walks of life who have either hated it or not quite liked it, or that's not really for me. And I've seen this across Twitter and Facebook particularly, and Facebook's really good for this because generally people are going by, their real name, not just a handle. There's often a photo of them, you mouse over them, you can see where they live, who they are, sometimes where they work, where they're educated. You get a feel for people, and I've thought, my God, this is quite a cross-section, to the degree that I even pasted a few up. I removed their images and their names and such. And they're like mothers of children. It's like, myself and my 2 kids, we didn't really like this at all. And my whole point being, for the first time, I think ever, a really broad cross-section of fandom has been, what's going on in these first 2 episodes? And I think that's not been a good start for the series. But another thing I found myself saying all week is, guys, I think the 3rd episode is going to give us a bit of a course correction, not just because it's Moffat, but because it's a different voice to RTD. And I'd also had a bit of a preview through some non-spoilery reviews that this was very much going to be a character piece. It's the Doctor standing on a landmine for most of the episode. I knew that going into it. And I just had the sense, oh yeah, this sounds very different to what we've had in the first 2 episodes with the space babies and the Beatles and the Maestro and all of that. I had good feelings about this, and I don't think it let me down.
Yeah, I must admit, sort of over the week since we watched episodes 1 and 2, my opinion of them has gone down rather than up. I've just sort of found them incredibly disposable and silly and not something I really want more of. And
funnily enough, me too. They've gone down at least another point for me.
I think so. And I've heard plenty of reviews that have sort of had similar takes, but I've also seen plenty of people who said this is exactly what they love, and that's great. I think that we have seen a course correction this week. We'll get to that in a moment. The final just points I want to make is that we've seen the re-emergence, as happens in every new series of Doctor Who, of the ratings wars. Numbers are slowly published or leaked, or in the case of Disney, numbers speculated upon, and everybody's got their pre-prepared take on whether those are good or bad numbers, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, when we get to our review at the end of the season. Yeah. And lots of theories about what's going on, lots of people looking for arcs. I haven't really dived into that too much, but I do think that my theory for this season at this stage is that there's something WandaVision-esque going on, and that's why we're getting these fourth wall breaking moments. That's why the Doctor suddenly can jump into a Glee-style pre-choreographed musical that makes absolutely no sense in the inverted commas reality of the show, but would if this was actually a TV show in a TV show, or something like that. So that's my theory, a WandaVision type thing, based on nothing other than what I've seen on the episodes. I've got no insight, no hidden word. That's just me going, I think this is more than RTD being camped. This is a clue. We'll find out.
Alrighty then. Well, with that preamble out of the way, we better shuffle on to our word of the week, Dave. My word of the week this week is faith.
Is it a Buffy reference?
I wish. Eliza Dushku, hello.
My word of the week is distilled.
Okay. Well, let's get into it, Dave. General thoughts, overview. Who wants to go first?
Look, I will start. I'm going to say that I enjoyed this episode significantly more than the first 2. This is much more an episode that I can see myself coming back to and having a watch again and diving deeper into and all the rest of it. It was an episode that I was watching with a bit of a duality going on. The greater share of me was going, this is well written, this is well acted, this is tense drama, I'm here for it, I'm engaged by it, I'm enthralled by it, this is really good. There was a second, smaller channel in me that was getting frustrated at a number of things, and we'll talk about those as we get in there. So overall very good, but with an underlying almost annoyance at a few things that came through.
Yeah, I'm feeling broadly similar. I liked this. I think this could have almost been a script for a play, and even a play that doesn't change scenery. If you imagine this losing the scenes at the base camp where the dad is talking to the girl earlier on, and it's all just set around that crater and the landmine, this could have been a play. So this almost feels like the cheapie of the season so far, after the all singing, all dancing, colourful extravaganza of last week. Here we're almost on one set. We're certainly in a studio, and it's all very contained, and it's not big and sprawling and doing some massive thing. When you think of some of the big Moffat stories, it's quite the antithesis of that. But I liked it for that. And I felt that it went back to some real core sort of Doctor Who vibes and feelings, and it maybe even feels a bit jarring coming after the first 2 episodes, but I think it's the kind of course correction we needed. I do wonder how some of the haters are going to spin it, saying, oh, this first episode's crap, this second episode's crap, the third, how am I going to couch this? Because that was actually, a decent episode. So it's going to be interesting to see the reactions to it over the week ahead, because I do think this was a good episode.
Yeah, it's really interesting the point you make there about the small self-contained nature of this role. But I was sort of thinking as you said that when it comes to this big Disney budget and all this money splashing around and spending all this money on episodes, maybe there are times when RTD is so busy thinking about, whether he could spend this money rather than whether he should spend this money. and I think Moffat has sort of come down and gone, well, actually, the budget doesn't matter to me. I'm just going to tell the story I want. And that's a really good thing.
Yeah.
Rob, I've got a very positive note here.
Yes.
I wrote this down slightly tongue-in-cheek, but I did write down the note, wow, Shooty really can act. Yeah. And that was more a reference to the fact that he was actually given some real moments here to do. And I like this version of the 15th Doctor a lot more than the first two. I'm not saying that he shouldn't have some fun and wacky things out there. Of course he should. Many Doctors do. But I think Shooty playing smaller, more serious, more worried was fantastic. And he carried that off superbly well. And I like that a lot more than the outrageous 15th Doctor that we've had the last couple of episodes.
Yeah, and look, we've picked out the moments in the Christmas special and the first two episodes where he did get small moments of being slightly darker, slightly different. And it's like, that's there. Can we tease that out? And of course, here he doesn't get to move for most of the episode, quite literally, which was quite incredible when you look back on it, actually.
Yeah, no, it was. It was a really good performance. Do you want to have annoying point 1 or annoying point 2, Rob?
Oh, I'm spoiled for choice. Let's go with number 1.
Annoying point 1 was that, as I said during a lot of the first couple of episodes, there were very, very many moments of this where I thought, Moffat, I've seen this before. You've done this before. We had the military priests. We had the technology that wasn't working. We had the scary hospital thing. We had the person who's dead but can still be communicated with via the last essence of his life or whatever it was. Like, this was Moffat going back to several wells, wasn't it?
Yes, broadly, and also no, because at the start where you've got the guys, staggering along in the military uniforms, but they've clearly got the dog collars on, I'm like, oh, we're back with these Catholic dudes fighting cleric type dudes, blah, blah, blah. But then we cut to a female one, and I'm thinking, this doesn't seem so Catholic to me. And then later we learned they were Anglican Marines, Dave. They were Anglicans.
Oh, that makes it all the difference.
So a slight twist on what he had done before, where I'm sure they were based on the Catholic Church, the ones he did in that Angels episode. But broadly, yes, a greatest hits of many things Moffat has done. But, I almost said your word of the week, so now I know maybe why you chose that word of the week. I might stop there. What's your second? What's your second one?
My second one was that I felt the word of God, pardon the pun, coming through in this episode in sort of full volume. I was watching this and I've gone, okay, Moffat doesn't like the military. Fine, we get that. You don't like the military. I think it's from somebody who doesn't understand the military and somebody who has a very unfair opinion of the military. So we've got that. Mm-hmm. Oh, and you don't like organised religion. Okay, so we're going to make fun of organised religion. Right, we're not doing that either. Oh, and you don't like capitalism. And I just sort of thought, come on, dude. You've got some takes on these that are incredibly sort of, UK middle class sort of takes. And I'm just like, just stop beating us over the head with these things. Because, look, I'm not remotely religious, but a lot of people are, and it brings a lot of happiness and a lot of comfort to people. That said, when I got to the end of the episode, I thought, okay, he has acknowledged that point, and so I will give him points for that. And that's an important point to discuss. But for a large part of the episode, as much as I was enjoying it, as much as I was feeling tense, I just had this underlying sense of irritation of, Moffat, stop telling us what you don't like and kind of making fun of things you don't understand.
And by this, I assume you're largely referring to the bit where he talks about faith, the magic word that keeps you from thinking for yourself, because that was something I jotted down. Not so much as messaging, but just something that, middle America might see and go, ooh, I don't like that.
Yeah, look, to be honest, not so much. That was actually a moment where I thought, look, that's fair and reasonable. When Doctor Who has done, going right back to the 60s, frankly, when Doctor Who has done science versus religion, it has always come down incredibly firmly on the side of science.
True.
And in fact, it's interesting just to sidetrack for a second. As you know, I often send in feedback to the the Check This Out podcast about the new episodes of Discovery. And there was a discussion on one of those episodes, partly that I sort of joined in with him in my feedback to them, where they had a much more nuanced take on religion compared to sort of the Gene Roddenberry, no, there is no God, and by the time of Star Trek, there is no religion. We have grown out of that. And I just thought it's very interesting that culturally maybe now Paramount and the Trek people felt the need to kind of nuance that anti or atheistic sort of approach to the show. And it's interesting to sort of compare that to Doctor Who as well, maybe getting a little bit more nuanced at the end of this episode. But my criticism was more just about, we're going to make the religious people now a bunch of soldiers who go around killing people because they're stupid. And I just thought, look, that was a vaguely interesting take sort of 10 years ago when he did it the first time, Moffat. I'm kind of over that. And again, I'm not offended by it. I don't care. I'm not religious. I'm not part of any organised church. But it just seems like somebody who doesn't understand the church and what it means to some people, or somebody who doesn't understand the military and what it means to some people, mocking them from a position of ignorance.
Yeah. Look, I will say, I think he tried to balance things out. I mentioned that quote, about the magic word that keeps you from thinking for yourself. But then at the end, there was also the fact that the Doctor might not like faith, but he does rely on it or lean into it or whatever the line was. There was also another line where the Doctor's like, I'm a complex space-time event. And she's like, well, I'm an Anglican. And I think maybe an Anglican watching this would have been like, yeah, that was a cool line for me. So maybe he was trying to balance things out in between the bashing, maybe.
Yeah, and this is always the fun of having a hot take, in that, this isn't a review. This isn't me sitting down and analysing this, having watched it several times. This is me going, this is how I felt. And so, yes, there was in the end more nuance than I was feeling watching the episode. And I'm going to be very interested to see how others reacted to that. Yeah, that was, as I said, it didn't destroy the episode for me. It was just this underlying sense of irritation at Moffat's approach.
Yeah, maybe something that wasn't so nuanced. John Francis Vader, Vater, of course, being father in German, and and this being all about fathers. The Doctor talking about being a father to a father, albeit a hologram of a father. Not so subtle, but nice. Yeah,
look, Moffat writes humanity very, very well. He's very good at making you care when somebody dies. He's very good at showing that people care for each other, making them feel human. And that absolutely came through. I mean, that's been a strength of Moffat's writing going back to at least Press Gang, where, you cared about characters. He had sympathetic villains. I'm thinking about the guy who, holds up the press room in a clown mask, who was clearly a messed up guy, but, you felt for him in the end. Moffat's very good at that, and that came through, and it was wonderful to have that part of Moffat's writing back. I love that.
Yeah. Look, something that happened at the very start of the episode, and I didn't mention it, so it might be weird to sort of shoehorn it in now, but I do want to mention it, is the Doctor hears the cry and throws the doors of the TARDIS open and just runs out into the battlefield. I was instantly thinking, this is Doctorish. Yes, he's being the Doctor. It wasn't some cutesy sort of start. It was, something's on. I'm out of here. I'm going to see what's going on. I thought he wrote the Doctor as the Doctor pretty much from the start of this episode.
Yeah, that was really, really good. Another really good moment that sold the Doctor for me and sold Shooty as the Doctor for me was when he thinks that somebody else is in trouble and he says to Ruby, go make sure that other person's safe. Someone could be in trouble. No, you're in trouble. They could be in more trouble. That was a very Doctorish line. I thought, yes, if I was frankly trying to sell the show to a new audience, that's the sort of stuff that I would have put right up the front. That's just my choice.
Yeah, very cool. Singing, Dave. We've had a lot of singing in Doctor Who of late. This was slightly different. The Doctor just sort of crooning the Sky Boat song, which is a song I picked up on instantly because my dad used to play this album of Scottish music. Back in the early 80s when I was a young kid, my dad would play this album, and I just picked up on the song instantly, and I thought, that's really nice. But does Shooty have some sort of contractual note or something that he gets to sing in every episode now?
Yeah, I don't know whether it is or whether it's just RTD sort of discovered that Shooty was able to sing and said, well, let's do that. Yeah, no, that was a nice moment. That was a very nice moment. That came very close to being my play of the week moment, in fact. I just thought it was really, really well done. And again, played small by both Millie and Shooty. Worked really, really well.
Yeah, quite eerie to hear it coming over a battlefield. You know?
Yeah. No, it was. And as the script correctly pointed out, I mean, it is a song about the escaping leader of a defended army.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Rob, a couple of just quick things to run through from me. The romance, did you buy it?
As unrequited love, possibly, because we didn't have to be really seeing it from her point of view. So, yeah, maybe if it's between the two soldiers that you're talking about.
Yeah, that one. Look, I thought it was nice, but I did think the whole, he confesses his love and dies. Was just a little too cliched for Moffat. So, come on, Moffat, you can do better than that. Rob, we've mentioned in the last couple of episodes that we don't like the Doctor being scared. Mm-hmm. And here we had the Doctor in tears a couple of times. Now, this could be a theme that is going to play out and pay off. But if it's just a characteristic of the 15th Doctor that he's sort of more in touch with his feelings and he gets scared and he cries, no, that's not the Doctor for me. I'm not here for that.
Yeah, it depends on what was going through his head. I mean, being scared of the big bad in the previous episode was weird and it could have been done better. But here, if you're about to be blown up, is he fearful just because his life is going to end, or is he fearful because there's still so much to do and there's Ruby to look after and he's upset about that? I can completely understand being upset about that. Being fearful for, I might die, I'm going to have a sook. Yeah, maybe not so. It just depends on what was going through his head, which we don't actually know.
I totally bought that he was sad that he's let Ruby down.
Yes.
But I don't need my Doctor to shed tears.
Okay.
And finally, just although we did say this feels sort of the more contained cheapy of the episode, the visuals were quite spectacular. We should point that out, with the exception of the final shot of the TARDIS dematerialising, which I thought looked incredibly fake.
Yeah, I hear you there. It's interesting, in all the episodes so far, there have been comments from fans saying, where is this Disney money? This doesn't look radically different to BBC Doctor Who.
And it doesn't look as filmic as Chibnall Doctor Who.
No.
One thing that we said consistently through all of our hot takes on the Chibnall era was just how good the filmation looked. Mm-hmm. The cinematography looked. And this doesn't have it. So whether they've gone back to more conventional cameras or what, I don't know. But I think that's a shame. Yeah,
lenses can make a big difference. So I understand what you mean by cameras. Absolutely. Are they using different cameras? I don't know. Yeah.
No, fair enough. They're my points. So, Sports Desk time?
I think so. And here we are at the Sports Desk, Dave, where we look at our Player of the Week, our Play of the Week, and our Foul of the Week. We always start, though, with Play of the Week. Dave, what was yours?
Rob, there were a couple of genuine contenders for me this week. I went for the moment that Ruby was shot. Because even though in my thought processing mind, in my brain, I'm like, well, she's going to be okay. We know she makes it to at least next season. Mm-hmm. It was done so well and it came out of nowhere. And I had genuinely had a moment of what's happening now? Like, what's going to happen? Oh my God, she's been properly shot. And the fact that in the aftermath of it, there wasn't that, how could you do that? Why did you do that? But every character knew exactly what had gone wrong and why he made that mistake. And why he genuinely did the right thing as he saw it, and the audience was left to just understand that. We didn't even have to be spoken through that. I just thought it made that moment even more powerful. Everybody gets why it happened and why it was genuine, why it was wrong, but it raised the stakes. And for me, underlying this whole episode, as I said, was a real sense of tension, and that really ramped it up again. So that's my Play of the Week. Rob, what's yours?
I feel like we're in a list makers here, Dave, because snap. For a while it was going to be I'm a complex space-time event, well, I'm an Anglican, but once we got to this bit where Ruby is gunned down, and it's the way she falls into the pit, she's stuffed.
Yeah.
They've gunned her down, she falls into the pit in such a way, just lifeless. I too was like, oh, wow. You know, and I didn't have the sense that she would die, but just the way it was done, I did have those thoughts of, well, how are we getting out of this? What happens next? All those things you just said. Take us on to your foul of the week, Dave.
My foul of the week, I've just written down here, stupid child. And
yes, go on.
that's not because I thought the child herself was a stupid aspect of the show, but for at least the first 2/3, the plot kind of relied on this child not realising her dad was dead because there's a hologram of him. And I just thought this is, for a child that's clearly sort of 10, 12, if not older, I just thought that was a level of willing stupidity that I couldn't go with. And so that was my foul.
I may have given it away already, but snap. I've put down here Splicer's reaction to the hologram when he started showing her the pictures. And she sort of sits down with this goofy look on her face like, oh, yeah, that's when we went to the holiday place. And, oh, that's when we did this. And I'm thinking, even if she can't figure out he's dead, even if she can't figure that out, she's in the middle of a war zone. People are getting shot. The doctor's standing on a landmine. And she just plonks herself down on a rock. And it's like, oh, yeah, the holiday photos, these are great. And it's like, is this kid slightly soft in the head? Like, I thought that was incredible, actually. Like, really badly written.
Yeah, and just in an episode of some really good human natural reactions. And another one that I could absolutely praise is when Vader, right at the start, is captured by the hospital machine. And he has the moment of, begging for his life, trying to reason for his life, and then the acceptance he's going to go and, well, I need to say goodbye to my daughter. Like, that was such a real reaction and played so well. And in the middle of all of this, we've just got the, why isn't, where's my dad? Where's my dad? Why? It's just, oh, God. It would be bad in any episode. It was particularly egregious in an episode that otherwise was very good.
Agreed. And your player of the week, Dave?
Are we going to go 3 from 3?
I don't know. We might.
I've gone for Ncuti Gatwa.
Snap.
I hadn't gone for Ncuti Gatwa in the first 2 episodes because his performance, whilst fine, didn't blow me away in any sense. This is the first time in, frankly, any of his 4.5 episodes that I've been properly impressed by him, and I've started to feel that he is the Doctor for me, so I had to give him my player this time.
All of the above. I can't believe we've had 3 snaps. We've never done that on this show, ever. Dave, our words of the week. Mine was faith.
Is it faith of the heart?
Well, close.
Sorry, I just don't get a Star Trek reference as well as a Buffy reference around your word of the week.
It was my faith in the show over this past week and telling people on X, look, just watch this Saturday. Things are going to turn around. Things will be better. Just watch this Saturday. Even if you hated those first 2 episodes, just watch this week. And I'm so glad the show came through for me because I had faith.
That's fantastic. Rob, you've worked out what my word of the week meant. I said it was distilled, and that is that this was pure distilled essence of Moffat.
Yes.
Rob, I really love your word of the week, and I think that it's very, very apt. I'm going to share a little sort of secret with you. I was in a cab coming back from the airport to home yesterday after being in Canberra for the week, and I was listening to FTE's, the second Great and Bountiful Human Empire. Yeah. hot takes, and they were having a pretty robust discussion, a very, very good-natured but robust discussion on this episode.
It was, yeah.
And I was sort of thinking to myself, if episode 3 continues in the style of 1 and 2, and episode 4 continues in the style of 1 and 2, I'm not sure I'm still here for this series. And I was actually just starting to go, how's the conversation with Rob go? Where I say, I don't want to do hot takes anymore because I'm just not enjoying this. Like, how does that go? And how would it affect the podcast? And how it all sort of work? And like, it was just, playing out in my mind as I do. Because I didn't think it was the most likely outcome, but it was a possible outcome. And I'm very, very relieved that I've really enjoyed this one. It has, as we expected or hoped, gone more serious and darker than the soft and fuzzy RTD openers. The trailer for episode 4 looks as though it's going to again be a small, self-contained British village at night time with dark things going on. If that's the case, I'm here for that. So
Yeah.
you have no idea how relieved, listeners, I am to be able to say that this is much better than the last 2 weeks.
Marvellous. Dave, to wrap up, I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. I don't think it's all-time Moffat genius, but when you think of what an episode 3 or 4 or 5 should be in any series of Doctor Who, I think it's what it should be. Particularly after the first couple of weeks, this does look maybe more like genius than it actually is, and maybe some vodcasts will go over the top and declare it as such just because the first 2 episodes did disappoint them. But I'm really sort of constraining myself and thinking, no, it might be genius compared to the first 2 episodes, but as an episode, I think it was good. I think it was an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, this wasn't the Doctor Dances, it wasn't Blink,
No.
it wasn't the Doctor Falls. So it's not an A+. But in this moment, I'll give it an A-.
Yeah.
Which is about an 8. Like you, I'm taking a couple of marks off for a bit of Moffat unoriginality and a couple of duff moments, but it's pretty solid. Will I feel the same in 5 weeks' time when we wrap this whole up? We'll see. But no, for now, a definite step up. I wonder what people new to the series will make of this, because it is quite a tonal change from the first 2.
I wonder if people new to the series are still watching.
That's a question for another time.
Yeah, we'll talk about that maybe at the end of the series when we get a better view of things. But until then, until next week at least, Dave, that's all I've got. I've been Rob.
I've been Dave.
We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.